wanted to know what I look like when I'm fangirling, then this episode of Free Mama TV is just for you. I'm going to interview the one and only Russell Brunson. Now, if you don't know who he is, that's okay. I'll get you up to speed on everything you need to know. Plus, be sure to stick around all the way through to the last question because it's amazing and the answer is life-changing. And I'm going to tell you how to get your hands on a free copy of Russell's newest book, Traffic Secrets. Hi, I'm Lauren Golden here with a new episode of Free Mama TV, showing moms like you how to start and run a successful freelancing business from home. Subscribe to my channel and hit that bell to be notified when I post a new episode of Free Mama TV right here each and every Tuesday. When I first started trying to figure out how to work from home and earn money, I tried everything. MLMs, blogging, surveys, and everything else you'll find when you Google how to make money from home. I can promise you that I've tried it and none of it worked. And then one day I came across a book that changed my life. That book was .com Secrets by Russell Brunson. And when I read it, I knew that everything was going to be different. Now, if you're wondering who Russell Brunson is, let me tell you. He's the co-founder of ClickFunnels, one of my heroes. And without him, the Free Mama and the Free Mama movement wouldn't even exist. I had the chance to interview him about his book, Traffic Secrets, which is just as life-changing as .com Secrets and his second book, Expert Secrets. Let me give you the scoop on all these secrets and why you need to know them. But first, answer me this. How long have you been trying to figure out how to make money from home? Let me know down in the comments beneath this video. Awesome. Well, like I said, I'm so excited about this interview because I know I told you this when I got to meet you in Boise, but you literally changed my life. I didn't study marketing. I didn't necessarily even aspire to be an entrepreneur, although in hindsight, some of the breadcrumbs were there. I never even stepped foot inside the business school at my college. It was not on my radar. And I think most of the people listening to this interview are maybe not really aspiring entrepreneurs yet either, which is really different from, I think, the people you normally talk to. These are women who are motivated by this idea that they want to be near their children. That's who I serve. They're looking for, how do I get out of the 9 to 5? So I believe self-employment is the best way to do that. I teach people how to start and run a successful freelancing business from home, but they're not necessarily like, I want to be an entrepreneur. It's, I want to be home with my kids. And so because of that, I want to back things up. We're talking about your book today. I'm super excited. I binged it this weekend. It's very challenging to do with 3 children at home, but I threw them all in the pool. I'm in Houston, so it's hot. I threw them all in the pool and I sat by the pool and read. But so this book is called Traffic Secrets, but back up for me. And now that you know kind of who's listening right now, what does traffic even mean? And what do you think is one of the big misconceptions or what's misunderstood about this idea of traffic?
It's funny. I was telling my parents I'm writing a book called Traffic Secrets, and they're like, I don't like, what does that even mean? Like
green light, red light.
I get stuck at the thing like, no, it has nothing to do with that. Yeah, traffic it's funny because I've been doing this for so long now that I always assumed for a long time that's everyone knew what that meant. But you're right. For most people, it's like, what is traffic? So traffic are the people that are coming to your website. And I don't know, I should look that up, why they started calling it traffic. I guess it was web traffic, how much bandwidth is happening on your servers back in the day. But traffic are the people that come to your website, that come to your funnels. It's the lifeblood of any business. It's the people, it's the customers. Yeah. And so Traffic Secrets is all about how do you get those people to actually come to you.
That's awesome.
Yeah. It's kind of like the movie Field of Dreams, like if you build it, they will come. A lot of entrepreneurs think that's it, right?
I love that. And I love that you talk about, because I actually talk about that in my webinar. That's like secret number 2 in my webinar is like, that's not true. But in my early days of like Googling how to make money from home, like I tried all the things. I always say, if you've ever Googled that, go through like page 1 of Google, and I've done all of those things. So I can walk you through, yes, I can walk you through what works and what doesn't. But at one point in my life, I thought I was going to be like a blogger, but I had no idea that the way bloggers make money is there's a business behind the blog. I didn't know that. I'm like, I'm just going to talk about my family. And like, yeah, I'm going to make so much money. Yeah. And so, no, it turns out nobody came. Why? Because there was no traffic go into my blog. There was also no paid offer, but that's a totally different story from Traffic Secrets. But so in the book, and I love this, you talk about the different kinds of traffic, because yeah, it's the people, but there's also different kinds. And you talk about traffic you can buy, which is like your paid ads, and traffic you can earn. Maybe that's like what you're doing right now with my audience. So we're kind of exemplifying what this looks like. But you talk about the most important kind of traffic being the kind that you own, and specifically talking about your email list. Now, I teach women, moms in particular, how to start and run a freelancing business from home. In your book, you say the email list is where it's at. Is this the best place for future free mamas to start? Why or why not?
Yeah, in fact, it's funny, when I got started, my very first mentor, he was very big. He's like, Russell, you have to focus on building email lists. And I remember, because there were so many other shiny objects happening at the time. Like, there were, back then, people were making money with Google AdSense and this and that, and there were all these things. And I was like, you know, as excited, like, you see opportunity everywhere, like the shiny object. And I was like, I want to try everything. And he was like, Russell, trust me. He's like, those things are good, but they go up and down. He's like, the stability in your business is actually an email list. It's a customer list. And so I used to hear him all the time, like, focus on your list. And so while all my friends were doing the shiny object of the day, I was just focusing on, okay, how do I get more people to join my list? And I remember someone along the way told me a metric. They said that when you have an email list of people, you should make on average about $1 per month per name on your email list. And I was like, okay, that's kind of cool. I want to test this out. And so I put up my first little landing page, and I started getting some traffic to come to my funnel. In the first month, I still remember I had 217 people that joined my email list. And that month I made about $300 in sales to those people. And I was like, it's pretty cool. So okay, I want to make it bigger. So the next month I kept growing. It got to about 1,000 people. And that month I made a little over $1,000 a month. And I was like, okay, that's the secret. If I want to make more money, I need to grow. I need to make my audience bigger. And so that's what I focus on. And for now, 15 plus years, that's been my core focus, is building a list. And I think that, you know, for any business, doesn't matter what it is, like, your customer list is the basics. Because, like, one customer goes away, like, if you don't have a customer, the next, you know, the more people to fill the pipeline with, you're in trouble. Especially right now, you know, the economy's shifting right now. Businesses are freaking out. And it's like, the ones that are not as nervous, the ones like, well, I might lose a customer here or there, but I have, you know, 100 or 1,000 or 5,000 people that I can get business from as well.
Yeah, that's so good. So you also talk about the importance of publishing consistently. I felt very validated in your book, Russell. Basically, I'm like, okay, I say this, Russell is saying this, he's way ahead of me, so now there's no excuse not to listen. But you talked about the importance of publishing consistently, and specifically, and I loved this, focusing on just one platform at a time. And you want to talk shiny object syndrome. This is something I see my peers do, but I also see so many of my students do, is they come and they start and they're like, well, Lauren's on YouTube and Facebook and Pinterest and Instagram, and so I have to be on YouTube. And I'm like, no, that, like, first of all, that's not me. That's now because I have a team. I don't even do it. Like, I just show up and do the part I have to do, and I don't do the rest. But when I started, it was just me, and I picked one place. And for me, it was my Facebook group. And that's still what I call my hub. Like, that is where I send everything. Because if I can get you paying attention to me there, and by the way, then when you join, I get you on my email list. But, you know, but like, that's, for me, that's my one thing. But it's something that inside my community, I feel so much resistance to. And I've seen this in my peers too. And I think part of it is that it can be scary to, like, put yourself out there. And the other thing I see is, like, people just don't know what to say. They're like, how could I possibly do this? Like, so what is one thing that you feel like publishing has done for you that maybe you didn't expect, that was awesome, that might inspire someone today to start publishing, even though we've been telling them to do this for a while?
Well, first off, you're right. So everyone who's listening to this, she knows exactly what she's talking about. So it is big. And it's funny because I know exactly what you mean. Like, when I started publishing, it was like probably the worst possible time. Like, it was right. I built a business up really big, and then it all collapsed around me. I had to lay off like 80 people in a day, which was the worst. It was horrible. And about that time, I was like, I'm going to start a podcast. And I was like, wait, what? This is the worst possible time. But I was like, I need to start doing it. And so I started, and I had to figure out something I would, like, be consistent with, right? I think that's a lot of people, like, like, don't pick a platform. Like, if I wouldn't have been a good blogger, because I don't like writing enough to sit down and write every day. Like, when I write a book, it's like I sit down and it's like 3 months of, like, torture, and then it's like, oh, it's done. But, like, blogging every day, I couldn't do that. But I was like, I know that I had a 10-minute commute to my office every day. I had a phone. So I was like, my first podcast was called Marketing Your Car. And I would literally just drive to the office like this, and I would do my podcast. And that's because I knew I could be consistent with it. And the thing that I wasn't expecting is, I thought at the time, I was nervous. I didn't know what to talk about. But as I started talking, like, more things started coming in my head. Like, oh, and this idea would, like, show up. And there's something about when you start publishing stuff, you get inspiration for other ideas, and people ask you questions, and it's spurred, like, just it's amazing the stuff that just like comes into your head that wasn't there ahead of time. So letting a lot of us, it's like, I don't know what to say. It's like, yeah, no one does it first. That's why you start talking, and then like things start coming for you to talk about. The second thing that was kind of interesting is that for the first almost 3 years, I didn't know how to check my stats. And so I was doing it and had no idea if anyone was even listening. I had no, and I'm grateful I didn't know how to check, because I probably would have stopped, because for a while, nobody's listening. But what's interesting is that like no one's listening at the beginning when you're still trying to find your voice. And I always tell people, like, you've got to publish long enough to be able to find your voice. And if you go back to like the old Marketing Secrets podcast, like the first probably 50 episodes were garbage. They were horrible. Like I talked even faster than I do now. I was nervous. I didn't know I was going off on these weird tangents that like made no logical sense. But about 40, 50 episodes in, I started finding my voice and getting more comfortable, and I never would have got there if I wouldn't have done it consistently.
Yeah.
And then the third thing I would say is in the book, there's a blog post that I referenced from my friend Nathan Barry that I thought was like so powerful. He talked about the blog post was called "Endure Long Enough to Get Noticed."
Yes.
And he said in there, he said that it's interesting how if you look at TV shows, like how many times we find a TV show, but we don't even know about it till it's on season 5 or 6 before we're even aware of it, or a movie or things like that we don't know about for a long time. And he said it's interesting. He said that a lot of times, because there's so much content being produced and so much noise, that people, they wait until something's been around long enough to like rise to the top. And so for a lot of us, it's like the two things you're doing is you're publishing. So first off, you can find your voice. And second off, it gives your audience time to actually find you. And so it took me publishing for a long time before people found me. But then by the time they found me, like I knew what I was saying, and like it just kind of worked. But the biggest key is you got to start and you got to be consistent, especially for a while where you're not going to see much return from it other than you get better at it.
Yes. And
people start finding you.
I love it. I always say that. And I have all my old Facebook lives up still. And I'll tell people, I'm like, go to the fall of 2017 and watch my videos. It's like me feeding my now 3-year-old, but she was a baby at the time, like just starting to eat solids. And I would just record myself having lunch with her and I would talk, and they're so bad, but I love it because I always say, like, if you want to be awesome at something, you have to suck first. Like you're not going to be good when you start. It's going to suck. And the other thing I'll say about your podcast, and I know you've rebranded since then, but I could like hear your car in the background, and I always loved it because to me, it was so real. And I think a lot of times people think things have to be perfect, but or like polished or whatever, but that's like, I think when we think about what we consume, that's not even true, but we put that pressure on ourselves. So thank you for sharing.
If I would have made mine polished, then I wouldn't have done it. Cause I didn't have a microphone, or like, I was like, I have my phone, that's it. So that's what I'm going to push, and I think people understand, like, it doesn't have to be like, I need a studio set with sound mics and all these things. Like just go, just start talking and your people will find you.
I love it. So one of the things I've heard you say a couple times since your book has launched is that you were concerned about making something that's a really like a topic that changes on the tactical level a lot. How do I write a book about this and make it like stand the test of time? And I love, as I've read it, that it feels relevant but also timeless. And obviously that's because you're focused on these strategies inside the book. But what I want to know, and this is for my own benefit, at ClickFunnels or in your mind right now, what are some of the tactics that you're curious about or you're exploring?
Oh, interesting. It's interesting. I'm less and less excited by the big advertising networks, which is like everyone talks about Facebook and YouTube and Instagram and Google. And I just feel like the longer we go with this whole online marketing thing, the more control those guys have. And like, that's where all the advertising dollars are. So for me, tactically, like what I'm looking at so much more so is like, okay, if those things all disappear tomorrow, how do I support my company, my team, and like my family? How do we feed all of our families? Like I need to start looking at things a little bit differently. And so it was interesting as I was writing the book, I actually had to go back in time because when I got started, it was before Facebook, it was before MySpace, it was before Friendster, like it was before any social networks, and that's when we were getting traffic. And I had to go back.
You aged.
I know. I was like, what did we do back then? Because we got traffic, and it took me a while to remember a lot of those things. And I started bringing it back out, and a lot of this book shows those things. Like, here's what we were doing now, and then here's what we're doing. And so with our team, with my team right now, it's fun because we have people that are doing those ads, and they specialize in those kind of networks, so they're really good at it. But my conversations with our team is like, okay, those things are working. Like where else are our customers? Like where else are they hanging out? Like we need to find those pockets of customers, and we're spending a lot more time like there's so many bloggers that have entrepreneurs that we never contacted them and like get to know the bloggers. And how do we get ads on their blogs and things like that? And how do we I talk about this a little bit in some of the Google sections, like a lot of times, like I'm gonna go buy Google ads, but then it's like, hey, let me think a little differently.
Wow.
What if I go to like the homepage in Google, and let's say the word you want is like sales funnels or work at home, right? And so like you said, you went for work at home and you know all the top 10, like those top 10 are there, right? And they're getting tons of traffic. Like what if instead of me figuring out how to get ranked on page 1, which is a lot of work, what if I just went to the people who were already on page 1 and said, hey, can I buy a banner ad from you? Or can I buy a pop-up that has my email, someone can join my email list? Or what can I do to like strategically get in front of the traffic kind of in a backdoor way that nobody else is thinking about? And those are things tactically that I'm having so much fun with, because it's opened these huge doors of traffic that nobody else is going after. No one's trying it. And it's just like free for the taking for anybody who thinks a little bit differently. And the book goes through like, just get your mind thinking a little differently, so you can like, oh, there's an opportunity here and here, and you can start finding them all over the place.
That is absolutely amazing. And thank you. I feel like I got my interview's worth. No, that's awesome. So I noticed that the book is split up into 3 sections, and the entire first section, which is like a big chunk of change, is all about your dream clients. Some people call this, your avatar or your ideal client. We kind of hear different words being talked about who these people are. But why do you feel like this? Why dedicate a whole section of the book instead of a chapter? Like, how important is this? How do we get started figuring this out? And how does it play a bigger role in this whole traffic conversation? Why is it important?
Yeah, I think most people, the disservice is that most people who've gotten online, especially in the last 3 or 4 years, like all they know is Facebook ads. And so they know, okay, I'm gonna go to Facebook ads, I'm gonna buy my targeting, and they know like the basics of their people, and they have some success because Facebook's made it really easy. But it's hard to really scale. If Facebook shuts down, everyone's in trouble. And so for me, like it comes back to these fundamentals that we really had to master before a lot of the platforms. So like the secret number 1 is deep about figuring out who your dream customer is, but then understanding them at a different level. Like it's not just like, oh, my customers are women between 40 and 52, or like that's what most people tell you. Like, who's your customer? It's like, no, I want to know like what's their names? What do they like? Like, what are they like are they moving towards pleasure right now? Are they trying to move away from pain? Are they they spending time searching? Or they scroll? Like, I want to get really deep understanding of them, because if you can figure that out, step number 1 is understanding who they are, and step number 2 is figuring out like where they already hanging out online. That's the power of the internet right now, is that the people, they group together based on similar beliefs and values and things that are exciting to them. So if you can figure out exactly who your dream customer is, then you can say, okay, well, where are they hanging out? And all of a sudden it opens up all these pockets of traffic all over the place. You can say, okay, if I'm in the fitness market, like, yeah, I can go buy fitness ads on, targeting people on Facebook, but what are the fitness blogs that they read? And all of a sudden it's like, oh, there's 30 blogs or 50 blogs. And it's like, well, what are the fitness podcasts they listen to? And all of a sudden you open all this whole world of podcasts. And you start looking at like, where are these people actually hanging out? And that's where it opens up these huge pockets of traffic that nobody else is going after. They're not targeting, they don't even know about them, because you understand those two questions. Is number 1, who is it you're actually looking for? Number 2, where are they congregating? And what's interesting is a lot of times, again, this comes back to like really understanding your customer at a deep level. The obvious is like for me, for example, right? I'm internet marketing business. Like that's what my customers like that stuff, right? So if I just go look and only look for business blogs, it may like, those are the obvious choices, right? But I also know a lot more about my customer. Like a lot of my customers, they're into they're into like biohacking and eating healthy and things like that. And so I'm able to go now like, okay, well, I know my customers so well that I know they're on the business blogs, but they're also on the health podcasts. They're also in these other spots that nobody else is targeting them. And I'm able to go to these places, and it opens up traffic again that nobody else is going for. So the more you understand those people, the more advertising opportunities you're able to find, because you know them at a level deeper than just, they're targeting between 16 and 22 and, like the basic stuff.
Totally. I think this really helps business owners shift from kind of a place of lack to an abundance mindset too. Like one of the things I see all the time is like this market's saturated or whatever. And of course those things can happen. But I think when you look at it, the way that you talk about it in this book, you start to think more creatively, which is what you're talking about, because it's not just, oh, I went to this group and this group's saturated because it's all talking about VAs and it's just VAs looking for clients, but it's just a bunch of VAs talking to each other. It's like, no, you start to think a little bit more creatively about where you can go once you know who you're talking to. And honestly, again, I found some validation in this one. And I think this is why, even though I didn't have a huge marketing background or business background, I think this is where a lot of the success from the Free Mama came from, is because I knew my avatar so well because I was her. And so I knew how I felt. I knew who it was. And this doesn't apply to every business, but a lot of businesses serve a former version of themselves. And so I think, I don't know, I agree. I think this is so important and so fundamental, and it makes everything else, from your copy to your branding to where you do your content and what kind of stuff you talk about. It makes everything else easier when you understand this. So I loved it. Okay, so you have to answer a question for me, because again, not all of the free mamas know who you are, even though you're like my marketing hero. So I'm just thrilled you're here. But you talk an awful lot about hacking. So some people call this stalking. Some of us are doing this without even knowing it, right? Like some of us call this stalking or market research, but from Russell Brunson, it's obviously not copying. We know what hacking should not be, but what is it, and how can somebody who's totally new to online business leverage this concept of hacking? Because I do it in like pretty much every single aspect of my business.
Yeah, that's awesome. So it's interesting because when I got started, man, back in the day, I didn't have a business degree or any business background. All I knew is I'd married my beautiful wife, Colette, and I was just like, she was working, I was trying to support her, and I was also trying to wrestle. I'm like, I have to figure out how to make money on the internet. So I went online, and the first thing that I looked around, I'm like, who's actually making money online? I'm just going to look at those. Like, I want to see success stories.
Yeah.
And so I found a bunch of people. In fact, the very first person I ever found was this guy named Armin Morin. And Armin had like 10 different software products he had created. And they all had a very similar, like the way the sales page was laid, they all looked almost the same. Like they each had a software box with his face on it, with a header and then a headline and then a letter and then some bullet points. And they all looked the same. And I saw like 5 or 6 or 7 of them. And I was like, this is so cool. And so one of the very first ideas I had was a little software program that I paid somebody to build. And after it was done, I was like, okay, now I have my own software product. Like he's got his. How do I sell this? I was like, well, I've seen his. Like I'm gonna do mine very similar. So I remember he had a picture of him up in like the header graphic with him with the suit and tie on. So I was like, all right, so I got a picture of me with the suit and tie on and put it up there. And then he had a software box with his thing. So I hired someone to make a software box, and I put my software box on there. And then he had a big headline. So I'm like, okay, I have a headline too. And his was this dark blue. So I made mine the same dark blue. And it was different. I didn't copy anything. I modeled the structure because he had proven for whatever reason that structure worked. And so I just like, it's basically, I laid it down. I said, okay, replace his image with mine, replace his headline with mine, his bullet points with mine. And then just made it almost identical. And then when it was done, I was like, started selling it. And sure enough, it worked right out of the gate. And I'm like, oh my gosh, this is the secret. And I think it's funny because so many people, they try to be really creative in this process. And it's like, yeah, you gotta use some creativity, but a lot of it's like, what actually works? Like there's been people doing this for a long time before any of us got on, who have proven so many things, and we just need to look at it and then not copy, but look at the framework. And okay, this is the structure of how things look that'll work. Let me just model that, but let me put my art inside of the framework. And we start doing that, and you can get successful very, very quick. I know you went from like you starting to you being successful was like super short because you were so good at like at finding the process, modeling it, and boom, it worked that fast for you.
Yes. But you can use this at every level. Like I hack ads. I'm like, cool, where do they use the emoji? What's the story? What's the layout? What's the hook? What's my version of that hook? Like I do this in everything that I do. Like I do it and I tell my free mamas, I'm like, if you don't know how to get started in something, if you're working on your website, or if you're whatever it is, if you don't know what to post on social media or how to optimize your go look at somebody else's who's doing it right, and then just do what they did, but your version of that. It's I love it. I love it. I love it. Okay, so this little stack up here, if you can see it, that's my Russell Brunson book collection. Nice. This one is right here. Of course, I have to add it still. But you've written 3 books now as part of the Secrets trilogy, which I've written 1 book, and I know that is like, yeah, I know it is like birthing a child. I mean, you don't know what that's like, but you know what it's like to have children.
Imagine what it's like.
You can imagine now, because you've had all the books. So is it okay with you if I tell you what my big takeaways are from the first 2 books?
Please, I would love that.
Okay, so the big takeaway for me in .com Secrets was this idea that a business could operate as a machine. When I hear you talk about $1 in and $2 out, literally my entire life changed. That broke every belief, that simple concept broke every belief system I had about traditional employment or where wealth comes, it just like I heard the glass shatter. It was insane. And then with the help of funnels, and obviously I use ClickFunnels, I learned that this whole thing could be automated and leveraging paid traffic and whatever, and it's just a machine. And it blew my mind. And then the big takeaway for me in Expert Secrets was my ability to then turn that machine into a movement that could then impact other people in an extremely powerful way. Now, I'm not going to ask you which of these 3 books is your favorite, because I think that would be kind of like asking you which one of your
Which
children
kid do you
is
like the
your
most?
favorite. So I'm not going to do that. But my first question is, do you agree with my takeaways from books 1 and 2? And what do you hope that people's big takeaway is from Traffic Secrets?
Very cool. Yes, I do 100%. In fact, you said it in a much more succinct way than I've ever thought about it. But I agree 100% with that. I think the .com secrets was really about helping people understand, like, how do you structure a funnel? Then it's there, and it's like, okay, now we can, send people to this thing, and it does the selling, and it does the converting, it does all the legwork that traditionally you had to do face to face or door to door, going door to door, however we would sell it in the past. Like, it kind of replicates that. And the expert secrets is like, how do you tell your message to like move somebody through that funnel and convert them and get them to change their life. And I think Traffic Secrets, my goal with that is to help people. Like, what's interesting is every year at Funnel Hacking Live, we give people awards, right? And there's a Two Comma Club award, and then Two Comma Club X award, and Two Comma Club C award now. And it's interesting as I look at all those different things, and I'm like, what's the difference between each set of person? And like, the funnel at that point is the same. Like, the funnel of someone that's Two Comma Club versus Two Comma Club X versus, different levels from 1 million to 10 million to 100 million. The funnels don't change at all. It's just how much more traffic can they get in the front door. One like really good example that Brandon and Kaylin Poland from Lady Boss, like, they came to our office a little while ago, and I was like, here's my funnel building team. And there's like, 5 or 6 people that build funnels for me, because I'm obsessed with building funnels. And they're like, what do they do all day? I was like, we build funnels. And they're like, and I asked him, I'm like, don't you have a funnel building team? He's like, no, we built a funnel, but that was like 3 years ago. Like, why do we need another one? Like, we just focus on getting more traffic into that funnel. And they're at like, I don't know, 70, $80 million in sales right now. And it's like, oh, like that's what it is. I think people are missing that piece, is like, especially us as like creators who like to create stuff, is we create the funnel and the next one and keep moving on, as opposed to like, let's really just focus on like getting more people to hear the same message, because the more people come in, the more people's lives we can change. And it ends up being actually a much simpler business. And so I think that's the goal of Traffic Secrets. How do you get more of your dream customers in, so you can serve more people, so that the movement you create can have a bigger impact, and you can change more people's lives.
I love it. That's awesome. Well, I have really loved getting to read all of the books. I mean, they've literally changed my life. I know I've told you this before, but I mean it. And I hope that everybody listening takes the time to not just read Traffic Secrets, but to get the entire trilogy and read them, because I believe that they can change your life too. One of the things I think you do better than anybody else, Russell, is you break things down in a way that is super digestible to anybody. I'm not a genius. I didn't go to school for this stuff. Like, I'm really not special, with the exception that I think I'm insanely dedicated. And so if you are insanely dedicated, then I think that these books can change your life. I have one last question for you, if you don't mind. Are you ready?
I'm ready for it.
Okay, so what should I have asked you during this interview that I don't know enough to have asked?
Oh, wow. Huh. That is an interesting one.
Where'd I miss the mark?
Where did you miss it? How about this? Because so tell me about your current customers, ones that are probably listening to this. Like what does most of their businesses look like? I'm gonna ask you that first, and then I'll rephrase the question.
So most of their business right now looks like networking. So they're building connections, because they're not necessarily looking for 1,000 clients. They're looking for 4 to 6 maybe retainer clients. A lot of my audience, they're virtual assistants, they're copywriters, graphic designers. So they're looking for those long-term relationships, just like you've built out your team. I have a team of 8. They're looking to be a part of someone else's team.
Cool. All right. So the question I would ask then is like, well, let's say I don't have a business that I'm going to apply traffic. Why do I need Traffic Secrets? I don't have a business. I'm trying to go and be a copywriter for this person or whatever. So that would be the question I maybe would ask. And then the answer is helping people understand that, like, in every business there's different roles, right? And there's no one role I don't think is better or worse than the other, right? Like, all of them are essential to make the business grow. But you look at like, who are the people inside of a business that get paid the most amount of money? And it's the people who know how to make it rain. That's what I say. You know how to make it rain. What I mean by that is the rainmakers are the people who bring new customers in. Like, that's like, they generate cash for the business. And so the rainmakers can come in and be like, I need more money. And they're like, okay, like, I have to give you more money, or I want equity. I want whatever those things are. And I think for anybody who's listening to this, if you learn these skills of customer acquisition, how do you get people in the door and how do you really understand them at a deeper level? It'll make you so much more profitable to whoever you're working with. Like you become the, you're the rainmaker. You're the person who fuels the entire company. And I've seen a lot of people who've gone into companies that are struggling, and they'll come in and say, look, I know how to get customers in the front door, and I can prove it. But if I do this over X amount of period of time, I want 20% of the company. And people are like, yes, please. If you can bring customers in, I'll give you equity. I'll give you cash. I'll give you anything you want, because you're the one bringing the money in the door. And it makes you so much more valuable to people. So I think just understand these principles will make you a million times more valuable to anybody you're going to be working with.
I am so thankful that you just turned that question back around on me so that you could drop all of that, because I completely agree. If you're sitting there going, I don't have the desire for a funnel, I don't need a funnel to meet my goals, these books will make you more of an asset to your clients, meaning they'll pay you more money and you'll have more stability that way. So you'll become more of an asset. That was so great. You guys, if you want to check out Traffic Secrets, go to trafficsecrets.thefreemama.com. I'll also, you'll have an opportunity to get the entire check. You got the fancy hardback. Mine's not hardback.
How about this? I'm gonna send you hardback tonight. You'll have it in 2 days. So
now you're just showing off. No, I'm just teasing. But you get a hardback
up there. I want your shelf up there to collapse.
I know. Yes, it is weak. It won't take much. That trilogy will definitely do it. Russell, thank you so much for your time and for pouring into these women. I know that your message can change their life. You changed mine, and I'm just so grateful. Thank you.
Oh, thanks so much for having me. I appreciate it, and I hope that everyone got a ton of value out of this. And excited for you guys to get more traffic into your businesses, your websites, and everything. And grateful for you allowing me to share my message with your tribe. So thanks so much.
Awesome. Thank you. All right, Mama. Now you know quite a few big secrets. You know who Russell Brunson is, why you need traffic, and how understanding traffic will help you build the business of your dreams. And I've got one more secret for you, and that's how you can get your hands on a free copy of Traffic Secrets. Check out the link below this video for all the details. Also, if you want to join a community of mamas just like you, I have a Facebook group where thousands of mamas come together for support and action-taking tips and motivation. As always, if you liked this video, please let me and Russell Brunson know by liking it below, subscribe, and share it with your fellow mamas. And comment below with hashtag I am a free mama if you're ready to check out Traffic Secrets. Okay. Okie dokie. Okay. Oh, really heavy. Bam! I'm like over here like, do.
Surprise!
Surprise!
It'll be fun.
Yay! My kids are watching Frozen 2 for the 90th time.
Yep. I've seen that way too many times.
I'm going to like chop it, and I'm taking this 30 minutes and I'm running with it. A free copy of Traffic. And that will be very obvious. Below. And then she's got interview.